Oh, absolutely. You almost got away with that then. Almost. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. And for those who are listening back on Spotify on their trucks in the morning, you missed the most glorious sight, which was Sean desperately trying to cram the last of his lunch into his face.
It didn't
And
happen. You're a liar.
no, not at all. No, we didn't see that at all. And congratulations to Clive for being the first one to say hello this week. So there we go. How you doing, Sean?
I'm good. Yeah. Yeah. Not. Yeah. Had a busy week. A very busy week. We've done a few drain surveys. We've done 2 honeybee removals. One I did on my own, which is the first one I've done on my own for a long time because I believe they are 2 main jobs. But the way it worked out, I had to do it on my own. It was an internal one. Had a couple of things to do with it, so that was interesting. And then we did one today in a chimney up in Northumberland, which went well. They both went well, with the exception of the first one. I was talking to Clive about it. It's we have the bee inspector coming out to see them. As soon as I cracked the plaster to get into it, there was a noticeable smell, and the smell was almost like it's hard to describe, really. Like it wasn't a sweaty smell, but it was an uncomfortable smell. Now, when they get EFB, they say that they have a smell to them. I've never smelled it. I've never seen a colony with EFB, but it did have a lot of chalk brood, a lot of sac brood. The smell was probably death of the larvae. So we ended up getting rid of all the shitty brood. We kept the only little bit of brood that looked sort of all right. And the bee inspectors come to have a look at them. Cross your fingers and hope it's not EFB. And then the one today was a beautiful colony, absolutely stunning. No stores, but other than that, it was stunning. So yeah, how's your week been?
Well, it's been very good. I've been delivering some training, back to the training this week, which has been lovely. Did a little bit for 1EMV, did a practical environmental risk assessment course, which was good. Had about 9 folks on that. It's always nice to do these workshops, these practical workshops. I've been really pushing hard actually for more training this year to go towards the practical element rather than just sitting down and doing a bit on a whiteboard. So what we did for that, because of course you're aware I have a little farm. I don't have a little farm. I have my labs up on a little farm.
Yeah.
And what we do for that is there's a church hall just at the bottom of the lane. Do a morning just doing a bit of training, doing some bits on, the bits that you have to do on a PowerPoint, and then grab some lunch, and then after lunch traipse up the hill en masse and actually got everyone to do an environmental risk assessment, as is. So one of those things, if you're going to, I'll solidly believe that training and education is best done in these sort of like layers. You have that whiteboard for those who take it in that way. You have that practical element for those that take it in that way, and then you mash them together, and hopefully something sticks. And did they wear appropriate shoes? Some of them did. Many of them did not. It, at least one gentleman turned up in loafers because he didn't realise that there was a practical element to the day. But he made a good show of it. He didn't let it slow him down. So fair play to him. But I was not under the impression that pest controllers owned loafers. I thought it was all welly boots and steel toe caps. So there we go. And then, of
Do you
course,
know what?
what you say?
I was going to say I'm glad that you were adopting that training mentality, and I certainly there was a post I seen earlier on about training on a farm or something like that. I wonder if that was something to do with you, but whatever it is, I think that the people who I meet in pest control probably benefit from that hands-on learning. I was always told at school I was a visual learner, and I know what that means now. If you show me something, I can do it. If you tell me something, I'll probably struggle a bit. So the fact that you are providing that training is, I believe, is a massive feather to your cap, and I'm sure will help push you forward. And I think we'll probably see training go that way in the future. So it's nice that you are the first to the jump.
Absolutely. So when of course, I talk about Church Farm and bits and bobs like that a lot, but when we were down at Church Farm, it used to be a phenomenal resource for being able to teach the pest management community because you had the training rooms, so you could, and there is always going to be bits, as much as we don't
So
like it, there is.
so hang on a second. Before you go on, I never saw Church Farm. I don't know anything about Church Farm. For me and those who aren't, would you give us a run through of what it was like? Because I don't know anything about it really, other than it was full of rats and mice.
So to take it back a long, long way, Church Farm was originally the brainchild of a guy called Dr. Steve Havers, and the farm that it was operating out of and on, I believe, used to be owned by his father-in-law. And it was a poultry farm, it was a working poultry farm. But as time went on, as the poultry industry started to decline, Steve annexed just a little corner here and a little corner there, and he turned it into his own, starting off little lab, then little meeting rooms. And then at some point, he decided to build these pens, 30 feet wide by 60 feet long, with great big sort of like with great big steel shuttering 4 feet up the side, and then just keep a load of rats in them, rats and mice, not together, pen for rats, pen for mice, pen for black rats, and just let them do their thing. They weren't wild, they weren't captive, they were somewhere in between. They were feral. You wouldn't want to give one of them a cuddle, but at the same time they were, enclosed. And from that, he then built that on and he carried on going, and it got bigger and bigger, and he built training rooms, and then he built scenario rooms, and it got bigger and bigger. And then around about 2015, I convinced Pelgar at the time it would be a really good get for me to take all of my insect laboratories and all of my hardware testing and actual labs and the staff teams that I developed with it to go and A, support Steve, and B, for us to start using this for our own training, education, and just general. It was just a good place. And so from there, for 5 years, we ran with Steve Church Farm. And it was fantastic. It was phenomenal. And it meant that when we were delivering training, and we delivered training for literally everyone in the industry, it was open to all. There was no barriers to entry. That was one of the best things about it. If you wanted to come down there and train, you could. There was no we like them, but we don't like them, and all this bollocks. If you wanted to come and use the facility, it was just a fixed day rate. That was it. You just came down, you used it for the day, and that was it. So we had Rentokil down there when it was Mighty. Mighty was down there. Ecolab used it, and then all of the major suppliers, distributors, they used it on occasion as well. And we even did some instances where we had private hires. People just came down to use it. But the great thing about it was, as I said, we had a whiteboard, so we could do the bits that had to be done on whiteboards because they were too, abstract to do anything else with. Then we had the pens, so you could say like, "This is what a rat does," and then we could literally go and stand next to the pens and see, "Look, there it is, doing it." And then we had the scenario rooms, which was like, so we had a kitchen, and then we had a bedroom, and then when we took it on 2015, we expanded it to the next building. So we had a shop front. We had an. My headphones just. Hang on, say something.
Hello, hello, hello. We got
My,
him.
my headphones just turned off because I was talking too long. Oh, that scared the bollocks off me then. I was not expecting that. So yes, next door we had these, as I said, we had a shop front, we had an attic, we had a little stocking warehouse, we had a area for doing proofing in. So we had a whole load of bits of wall and other odds and sods there. So you would be amazed as to the number of people that came through our doors that had never anchored something into a wall before and didn't know the difference between, a masonry bit and a wood bit, and things like that. And which ones do you use your rule plugs for, and which ones can you just drill straight into? Little things like that that actually you take for granted, but yes, there you go. Remember the house mice and the fake cavity walls. So it was a phenomenal facility, and I absolutely loved it. But sadly, come COVID, the training dropped through the floor. There was no more training. Pelgar decided that it wasn't environmentally environmentally, economically feasible to keep running a training center, a huge 2-building training center, if there was no one to train, and there was going to be no one to train for the foreseeable future. So they did a phased pull out and withdrawal, and unfortunately by that point Steve just wasn't in a position to keep looking after these hundreds of rats and mice, and so it got closed down, which was really sad. But my big goal, my big aim, and this is, yes, that's it. My goal, and I will make this pledge to you all now, that one way or another, whoever, what I'm doing, where I am going to push to get a church farm, because it is necessary for our industry. It's necessary for that marrying of practical to theoretical learning that we need to do. So yes, watch this space. I am going to try and do it, through any hook or by crook. It's going to happen next 3 to 5 years. Sadly, all the animals had to be put to sleep.
I think they're fed to birds of prey, were they? I don't know. I'm making that up. I don't know
Well,
which ones
actually,
were
no.
birds.
Yeah, genuinely, they were. Which was, so what we did, of course. Rats will breed, mice will breed, and we of course didn't want to, because it was, number one, not fair game, and number two, probably illegal to have fed them a biocide when they were in the pens. So what we did is we actually, when we were to euthanize them, we used CO2 baths, which is referred to as a Schedule 1 method of dispatch. So it's a recognized way of euthanizing these animals. And what we would do is we would take a number of them, humanely dispatch them. But yes, we did then feed them to birds of prey. There was the Barn Owl Trust down the road, and there was a raptor rehabilitation center, and another charity come wildlife park in a short distance, and we would donate all of the rats to them so they could help to rehabilitate birds of prey, or to help keep their zoo stocks alive. So what comes around goes around. And when all the food that we used to provide the rats and mice was all, we didn't buy anything fresh. It wasn't like we were taking from the mouths of others. We would use food that Sainsbury's and Tesco's and other large supermarkets had basically thrown out the back to get taken away to, to green waste into landfill. So it was all a lot of recycling, let's say, at the end of the day. But it was a phenomenal place. So actually, those in the comments that have been there, just for the, while Sean and I prattle on, give me your experiences of it, because I loved it. I absolutely did. And
So one
one of
quick
my,
question before we move on,
yeah,
because we do have
yeah.
to get to the topic. Neil asks a
Hmm.
very valid question, and I ask this of rat. What do you call someone who keeps a rat? Weird.
They are technically a rat fancier.
A rat. I ask this of any rat fancier I have ever met. Do rats and mice that you keep as pets carry significant diseases? Or more importantly, what is the risk of them carrying a significant disease?
So I'm sure you guys are aware. I've done talks and lectures and all kinds of odds and sods, and written articles on the disease loading of these. Yeah, wild rodents do have a disease loading, and although no one disease really is, other than leptospirosis, really jumps ahead of the pack, the sheer number of zoonotic diseases and transmittable diseases that wild rodents have is startlingly high. But the thing you have to bear in mind is captive rats. These diseases are transmitted through two routes, direct and indirect, or by biological or mechanical vectors. And for that, most of the times they either have to come into a direct contact with a rat that carries that disease, or indirect contact with a rat that carries that disease. So a lot of captive pet rats and mice, unless people are letting them run around in the garden, or they are, handling things outside and bring them in, it's very unlikely that those diseases are going to get from a wild reservoir of rodents into a captive population of rodents at that point, unless of course you bring those vectors in, because you are the thing moving between those two environments. So most people's pet rats are fairly safe. One of the bigger ones that is an issue with pet rats, and also pet reptiles and a lot of other pet animals, salmonella. that is one that is of slight concern, because that carries in their gut, but you carry that, they carry that. It's arguable that you gave it to them first and then they gave it back to you. So there we go. Yes. The initial rats, I think they came from the British Centre of Ecology. Don't quote me on that. But I think that's where the initial rats did come from, Neil. So there. I like that. Oh, you remember Big Bird? Sorry. This is a great one. I liked the big spider that was in the cabinet. So that was actually my personal Goliath bird-eating spider that I had at my previous labs for many years, and she was called Big Bertha. I had two. There's Big Bertha and Large Marge, and these you would have loved these, Sean. I kid you not, they were about this big. They were huge. They were dinner plate
I
spiders.
wouldn't love them. I would
You
not
would have
love
done.
them.
They
Yeah.
would have wrestled you to the floor and made you love them. Um, they were incredible animals. But with that, yes, when Big Bertha passed away sadly, it was my first foray into pinning a spider. So I had a preserved specimen and I put it in a shelf. So I'm amazed someone saw that and remembered it. That's awesome. I love that. Um, but there we go. Yeah, Rick, are we talking about Church Farm? Yes, we are talking about Church Farm, Rick. Rick used to come down, so there used to be a rifle range down at Church Farm as well, which was
Yeah.
great fun. It was a 50-foot rifle range, which we used to annex. A group of us, including a group of pest controllers, would come down. Ostensibly to zero in our rifles, which just turned into 2 hours of sitting down, chatting, chewing the fat, and just shooting tin cans at the end of the rifle range.
Yeah.
But there we go. Yes, Sean. Yeah, everyone is picking up very much on the
I
fact that you
know.
haven't.
So yeah, I got up. I was on my own on Thursday working. Didn't stop for dinner. Got in late. It had just gone past the point of eating, so I pretty much didn't eat Thursday. I got up early this morning. I think I met the lads at 7, and then we've worked through. I've ended up going to the gym. I don't know if anybody who does go to the gym, but I find if I'm at the gym at 5 o'clock, if I eat or drink after 1 o'clock, I suffer terribly with a stitch, like really badly. Um, so I try to eat before then, but because we've been busy this morning, it's got to like 3, 4 o'clock. I'm going to the gym at 5, so I haven't eaten, and then I tried to shovel it in before this started. I got halfway through and I was sitting looking at it like, I want that. It's very rude to eat in public, but I am starving. And there's a pack of apples there as well. So I'll probably smash one of them later on as well. But yeah.
You're actually doing a little better than me, because I have to admit, I'm sitting here being like, "Oh, Sean, you've forgotten to eat. What a twat!" But
Yeah.
actually, I bought myself just a meal deal from the petrol garage this morning when I was topping up with a bit of fuel, and I had the can of Monster and I had the Snickers, and I thought I'm going to save my little wrap for later, and I left it in the car and I forgot, and it was barbarically hot, and by the time I went to go and pick it up,
Oh,
the
the stinks
yeah.
of the sweaty and horrible.
It was sweaty, and I was like, "This is dangerous. I'm not going to eat this." So I
Yeah.
actually haven't eaten yet today either,
Oh,
because there we go.
I've
Um,
remembered something I did this week as well. On top of doing them jobs, on Monday, I give a talk in a school
okay,
to
drugs
kids
are
about
bad,
bees.
kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was to children about bees, because they're doing bees, and we spoke about Asian hornets,
Ah.
and
Just
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 told
while
them to
you
keep
get
an
your while
eye
you
out.
get your thoughts together there, that little thing, is that one of Ernest's? Is that one of
It's
Ernest's?
not. No, I'm going to buy one off Ernest. This was bought for me. From someone else. So Ernest, if you're watching this, I'm going to buy yours because I believe thoroughly in supporting our fellow pesties. But this was bought for me as a present by a beekeeper who saw it and picked it up for us. So I would much rather have Ernest's because he is that man. And we will, in fact, I'm going to give him some queen bees to do. And I don't know if anyone's seen it or not, but Ernest actually done a rat skull in it. Has anyone seen it? It's one
I
of the
haven't
most
personally.
impressive things. I like it. I think it's called Ernie's Resins or something like that. Go on Facebook and have a look at the rat skull because I think that's going to come and live with me. I'm turning this weirdo that's going to keep these little things about. You know,
Oh, you do.
yeah,
I have a collection of them that I take to like every lecture. I have rat skulls and bird skulls and shrew skulls and all kinds of skulls. They're it's what you do at the end of the day, isn't it? When you get a hobby, you
yeah,
um,
yeah,
what was
Matthew, I'm like that with the gym. Yeah. So interestingly, the kids were a little bit younger than I thought they were going to be. They were like, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, and then they brought the younger class in. And I have every respect for teachers now because there was one little boy who just repeated everything I said for the full half an hour. So this is an Asian hornet. Hornet! And bees collect pollen. Pollen! And for the full half hour, they kept saying to him, like, will you stop repeating what he said? And he went, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you go, yeah, so bees also collect honey. Honey! And I was like, just leave him. Just let him go. And he just repeated everything for the full half hour. And I can't lie to you, never have I been mugged off by a 6-year-old as well as he did it to us. He absolutely done me knees because I couldn't concentrate or anything. Yeah, he's an audible learner. Exactly. Yeah.
so basically
But
when someone does that to you, incidentally, that he Beastie Boyed you, basically, is what he did.
what's that?
Listen to any Beastie Boys song, and they
Mhm.
basically will shout out the last word. So he basically Beastie Boys you just
Yeah,
flat out.
he done his.
Mm.
He absolutely, I can't lie to you, he done his. But it was a good experience, and I think they picked a little bit up from it. But we're going to end up rambling, and we're going to miss the night's topic of awards, pest awards, awards in
We
business.
are. Now,
Um,
ladies and gentlemen, we do have to say we had someone billeted for this evening, Simon King, who was meant to be joining us from Pest Magazine, who are the guys who very kindly collate all of the recommendations, nominations, and then host the awards each year. However, Simon, his partner, surprised him late in the week with a getaway this weekend. So unfortunately, he couldn't join us, and we tried to desperately get his right-hand man to come and join us as well, but that sadly fell through. And so with that, we have to unfortunately admit that it's just going to be Sean and I tonight. It's going to be, as Hugh would say, posh and Bex. You have to figure out which one's which from that, but I have to say I have the looks, so there we go. Um, so it's just Sean and I tonight. Sean, do
yeah.
you do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think it would have been nice to have them on from someone within the awards to talk about their side of it, but they're not here. And I think it's important that we cover it because the awards are going up for nominations now, and I believe that there's a period of about a month, I think it is, where you can nominate people. So hopefully now, as a result of this, we will see some nominations going in if you are that way inclined. Um, you've probably got a lot more knowledge on how these things work than I do because I can't lie to you. It's like I don't get it. I'm on the other side of the fence. Um, yeah, Lawrence Barnard, 35 days left to nominate someone, um, or maybe yourself. But we'll see. But yeah, so let's go through awards. Al, you start. Tell us about your because you were nominated for an award last year. So let's run through your understanding of awards, and I'll tell you why I struggle with them a little bit.
Yeah. So it's interesting because some of you may know, or some of you may not, or some of you may have been a party to this. But I was nominated for an award last year. It was the Unsung Hero Award, which, although you could have knocked me off my chair with a feather, I was so moved and touched by this. I also feel it was probably one of the least appropriate awards for me because anyone who knows, as a consultant, I spend a tremendous amount of time telling people what I do. Although I like the fact that people wanted to nominate me for, I don't think I'm an unsung hero. I think I'm a little bit of a loudmouth twat most of the times, actually. But actually, with that, we have that. So I was nominated, and the first I knew actually of being nominated was I got an email from the pest offices saying, "Congratulations, you have been nominated for an award," which was I know, absolutely phenomenal. It was incredible. And as time went on, as the nominations came through, and the judging panel whittled those nominations down, I was interviewed by Simon King. They took a little blurb and a little statement off me, and it all accumulated at the end in an award show in London, where I had to rent a tuxedo because it was all black tie, and I don't own I don't own a tuxedo. So actually, I say I had to rent one. I tried to rent one, but because it was on such short notice, because I honestly didn't believe I'd be getting this far, I had to buy one to the stunning tune of £350. So I'm now the proud owner of a tuxedo, which I have worn once and probably will never, never do so again. But you were also at the awards. I saw you there. Were you at that one?
No, I
No,
wasn't.
no,
No,
you
no,
were
was
not.
a shit.
Oh,
You,
really?
mate. Oh, do you think I was invited to an awards ceremony?
I could have sworn you were there. I know Clive was there. Absolutely,
Clive,
Clive was
yeah, yeah.
celebrating me.
Clive's going to get nominated, isn't he? We're not. Um, let's have a look. So I'm just going to quickly run through them. Unsung Hero of the Year, Karen Brett. Young Pest Controller of the Year, Joe Strong, Beaver Pest Control. Pest Controller of the Year, Gemma Sutherland. Local Authority was Luton. Sustainability Initiative of the Year, Landmark Wildlife Services. Sole Trader of the Year, Joe Cook. Small Company of the Year, Integrum. Large Company, Clean Kill. Lifetime Achievement, John Davison. Pest Business of the Year, Luton Borough Pest Control. Luton Borough Council. Yeah.
It's a good mix, and it does kind of bring up the point, which is well, I suppose we're going to get into this a little bit more, which is what's the point? I mean, you have some thoughts on this. I have some thoughts on this. I actually think the awards are a fantastic thing, and I don't say that because I got nominated for one. I say that because it's a real opportunity for us to celebrate the achievements of our contemporaries and peers, and we do a lot of good. I don't think, as an industry, we don't get enough accolades. And at the end of the day, if we are not going to be prepared to support each other and to give our peers and give our colleagues those accolades, then we can't expect anyone else to do it. So I think the awards serve a fantastic purpose of just highlighting some of the good stuff that we do and some of the good people that are out there. But there we go.
So I tell you what, I tell you my outsider's view of looking in.
Mm.
I know you said that you were nominated, but when I spoke to Simon, he told me that the vast majority of nominees nominate themselves, which sits uneasy with me for two reasons. One, self-praise is no praise. That being said, I think you're right. I think as an industry, we are not very good at recognizing brilliance within our own industry, whether that's because we see them as competition or whatever it is. And it would be good if that changed. But for me personally, for me to fill in an award where I nominated myself, it would make my skin crawl. I couldn't do it. And if there is that business side of it as well, and I get that some of these businesses will have social media people and business development people, and it is their job to kind of do that. And I guess you beat everybody who doesn't show up to the competition as well. So if you don't nominate yourself, don't complain because you haven't put yourself in the mix for it. But I just find it a bit weird if 90% of the people who are nominating themselves like, does that take away from winning that award? I don't know. Does it? Would I feel like, I don't know, it's just a bit uneasy. And that's what I really wanted to talk to Simon about, but obviously he can't be. So there's a couple of points here. Is it a bit like the Curry Awards? And I know what he's referring to. I'll come back to that. And is it the kind of award where you only win if you attend? you stick your nomination in. However, you don't pick yourself as a winner. It goes to a board to discuss the outcome, and that's the other issue I have with it. When you ask them what the criteria are for someone being picked, no fucker knows, do they? No one knows. Like, I've asked 100 times, what's the criteria for what was it, small sole trader of the year, for small company of the year, for large company of the year? What was the criteria for being picked? And they're like, well, we spoke to them, right? But what was the criteria? If you run 100 meters, it's the person that does the 100 meters fastest, isn't it? If you go to darts, it's the first person that gets from 5:01 down to 0 and finishes on a double. Any competition I've ever been in, before you start, there is a set criteria. What is the criteria for winning an award? And when you ask, it's like, well, we all sat there and spoke about it, and the five of us decided that that person was suitable, which I am uncomfortable with as well. Thoughts, Alex?
Yeah. You've bounced between a lot of different bits and bobs there. So
Three things.
where would you like me to start? So number one,
Three things.
nominating yourself.
Nominating yourself.
So okay, no, there's some awards where nominating yourself, I think, is a little bit like self-flagellation at the end of the day, isn't it? It's if you're going to nominate yourself for the young technician of the year or the technician of the year or the if you nominate yourself for the unsung hero, I think that is the height of probably bad manners. But I don't see anything wrong with someone, a marketing person or someone within a business nominating their company because they are proud of what their company has done at the end of the day. If you are marketing or technical or sales and you believe that your company has made a difference, then go for it. Be proud of that. So you are, because at that point you are not nominating yourself, you are nominating that entity that has done that thing. So I think there's two different bits there. Absolutely. What was your second point?
Yeah, so first one was nominating yourself. Second thing was I can't even fucking remember now, can I?
Okay, while you think, a point about nominating yourself. 90% of nominations are made, on behalf of themselves or their own companies. But I know that there aren't that, there isn't a great deal of nominations, considering how many people are out there, considering how many people are eligible to be nominated for these awards. There aren't a great deal of applications. And so probably the only ones who are motivated to do so are obviously going to do so on their own behest. So with that, this year, make it different. Make it different this year. Nominate someone that you might work with another company that you quite like. Nominate them. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? They win an award. That's the worst that could possibly happen. They go and win. And then what happens? They feel damn good about themselves. The industry gets a bit of recognition. They go on, they pay it forwards, they try a bit harder. There's a couple of comments in there, people saying things like backslapping, but what's any award? What's the Oscars? What are the BAFTAs? An award isn't a celebration of somebody's success. A couple of people shouting out the word criteria there. I think that was where we were going with this, what the
Yeah,
criteria was for getting these awards. Now, I'm just having a look on their page. I'm going to fill it out. And I believe that actually some of the criteria or some of the decision making process is actually you can't just put a name, you have to put a reason for that name as well. And with that, probably a lot of the decision making process is going to be, oh no, there we go. You don't have to. You just have to nominate their names. I can only assume at that point that the board, I call it the board, the judging panel, will look that person up or look that company up and go back through their accolades or see what they've done over the last year or make discrete inquiries. They've got to base it on something. It can't be a purely popularity based like thing.
it is though,
Um,
isn't it? Is it not?
I wouldn't say so.
I would think so. So I know a local council pest control firm around here,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me that every however many years they ring them up and say, "Would you like to nominate yourself for this award?" It's like your sort of turn, and they say, "Yeah, put in for it," and then that's it. But do you not think it would be better? So there's sort of two issues there, isn't there? One is, should the criteria be made publicly aware before they are asked at the point of nomination? So they say, this year for Unsung Hero of the Year award, we are looking for someone within the industry who has done something. Give us an example, or give us that's probably a bad one.
I mean, I feel like we're doing this a bit of a disservice, because I've just gone onto their website now, as we should have probably done in the lead up to this. And so, for example, for the large company of the year, if you actually scroll over that, it will come up with a blurb and say, this award acknowledges an outstanding business which employs more than 20 technicians. So criteria number one, the judges are looking for a company that demonstrates excellence and professionalism whilst delivering outstanding customer service and a wide range of products. Applicants will also show a commitment to staff development and training. So there are some criteria there, and they must have to do some research. Otherwise, all of that would be largely invisible to them.
I know Clive was nominated last year for an award, and I know that when they spoke to him, they told him that there was like an overriding ethos of the awards that year, which I hadn't seen printed anywhere, and it was like to do with I'll probably get this wrong, but it was like sustainability or moving pest control forward or whatever it is. Like, should this not be told to us straight away? But that, I've just remembered what the other thing is. Well, is you've kind of addressed it as well, but we need to nominate other people. I really want to talk about that. So I'm going to write that down. Hang on a second, and we'll come back to it. Yeah.
Well, just for a bit of discussion then, because we're talking about the criteria and we're talking about how the decisions are made. Would you like to know who the judges are this year? Because that would probably give you a little bit of an idea. So from Pest Magazine itself, we have Simon Lewis, who's the publisher of Pest Magazine and the chairman of the judging panel. And then we have Simon King, who is the editor of Pest Magazine. And then we have our representatives from our two trade associations. So we have D. Ward Thompson, who is the head of technical and membership at the BPCA. And then we have Steve Hallam, who's the chief operating officer of the MPTA. And then we have Dr. Andy Brooks, who's the head of operations from Basis. And then the sixth member of the panel, I believe, is a representative of the last year's winners. So he is David Porter of he's a pest controller and dog warden for Luton Borough Council, or he's the manager, sorry, of operations for those two facets at Luton Borough Council. So there we go. It's six people, and it's actually it's a fairly, I would say, good range from across the industry with no particular biases. We've got our two trade associations. We've got technically both of the CPD providers in there as well. We have both of the have the magazine who runs and judges and finances the whole thing, and then we have a wild card, so to keep it honest, so to speak. So I'd say, as a judging panel goes, that's pretty good. At least three of those. Yeah, I think as far as the I believe four of those are the same as last year, maybe even five. Because
so basically it's just someone from Luton's joined on.
Yeah, well, no, that seat changes every year, I think, with the last year's winners. But you're only going to have a limited number of people who are going to represent either of the trade associations, because they don't have that bigger staff teams. And you're only going to have a limited number of people who are going to be able to come from the magazine itself, because again, they look after multiple magazines. But I actually think the number of people who look after Pest Magazine itself is three or four. It's the three or four that you see down at the trade shows. And then, of course, Basis. Basis is a great big sprawling beast, and I'm pretty certain that they don't take a massive. We know they don't take a massive interest in our industry anyway. So getting anyone down from that is probably a good bet anyway.
So Sam Underwood has been nominated for an award. Tell what award you've been nominated for, Sam. But this is exactly how I would feel. I've been nominated, but I have to sing my own praises by answering all sorts of questions. This doesn't sit well and makes me not want to be nominated. That I'm never going to get nominated for an award. I'm well aware of it. But if I was you, Sam, I would absolutely feel like you, blowing smoke up somebody else's arse is uncomfortable. Doing it to yourself is I massively struggle with it, and I do wonder whether technician of the year, well done. Yeah, I do wonder whether maybe the awards should, I don't know, maybe other people should give you a
Do
shout
you
out.
want me
But
to give you the
yeah,
best bit of advice that I was ever given for
yes,
talking about yourself? So, of course, if you write a CV or you want to write a bio or you want to write some article and you need to have an element of self-praise in there, because at the end of the day, that is marketing, isn't it? That is selling yourself and selling your business. But as Brits, we find that very difficult. We tend
yeah,
to not like to do that. But do you know who is very good at doing that?
Americans.
Nation. Yeah, one of the best tools I found is if I'm writing about myself and I find it uncomfortable, I switch that little internal monologue in my head to an American accent, and suddenly it becomes very easy to sort of like if I pretend that I am American in my own mind, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to go through that whole rigmarole of that sort of like mental masturbation, so to speak, of like speaking well of yourself.
It's funny, I had to do that with money when I got into business.
What, pretend you were an
Um,
American?
no, I had to pretend I was an outsider looking in. When I
Yeah.
first started in business, the way I was brought up, money was the root of all evil. The people who had it were greedy and not to be trusted. Um, you weren't allowed to talk about money. There was great pride in working hard for your money, but not really having a lot and being salt of the earth. Um, to the point where I could have been on the bones of my arse, skint, and you could owe us 20 quid and I couldn't ask you for it. I would have got cotton mouth. I'd have felt uncomfortable.
Mm,
And I ended up kidding myself. So what I did was I put myself in a position where I said, if this business employed me as their debt collector, would I have a problem asking for that money? And the answer was no. And all of a sudden, everything changed. So, like now, when I ask for money from someone to pay a bill, I have no issue because I don't feel like I'm asking for me, I'm asking for the business. But what you're saying there is exactly the same thing. You put
mm.
yourself in a position where you say, I'm not writing this. It's Mr. Blogs over there is writing this about my business for the benefit of my business.
Yeah, and it is well with that. And you know Lulu, you've met Lulu. Lulu is one of the other consultants I run IPM Central with, but by far and away, probably one of the best bits of advice that she ever gave me. And this applies to a lot of you guys listening as well, because I think the majority of folks listening are what we would term micro businesses, so 5 employees or
Mm.
less. Is there's a real difficulty in disconnecting yourself from the business. When you put an invoice out there, it's not you. Even if you are a one-man band, even if you're a sole trader, even if you are the only one doing the things and you're doing it from end to end, when you put an invoice out, you need to be sure mentally that you are separating yourself. You are not giving that person, you are not asking that lady for money. You are not asking that company, which is already on hard times, to pay what you probably and suspect they cannot afford. It's not you. Your company has provided a service in your time, in
Mm-hmm.
your expertise. Your company has sold you and you have achieved the goals, and the company
Mm-hmm.
is owed that money. And therefore, it's not you. And so when they ask you, oh, I can't afford that, go down, well, bring it up with the head of finance, which is a completely, it's the same voice, but it's a different mindset. Um,
Right. So this is going to
oh,
cause controversy. I know it is.
okie dokie. Okie
Right.
dokie.
The Prestige Awards are a pure scam. Anyone can win, especially if you pay for the extras. Probably true, and almost
So,
certainly
explain to
definitely
me
true.
and people listening, what are the Prestige Awards? Because I'm probably not the only one here to not understand what the Prestige Awards are.
Basically, someone gets on the phone, rings up and says, it's what Hugh was talking about, the Curry Awards. They'll ring up the,
Okay.
do you want to win an award for being the best curry house in Bradford? Yeah, I'd love to. All right, no bother. In order to be nominated, you have to be a member, and it costs you 250 quid. So they're like, right, so you pay them 250 quid to become a member, and then you win an award, pretty much guaranteed. Curry House Awards, Prestige Awards. Here's a question for you though. What's the difference?
Okay.
What's the difference?
So this is kind of what I was just about to sort of like launch into to say to play devil's advocate, because from the outside looking in, an award from people, we are going to use these awards, and let's not lie about it. We are going to use these awards as marketing for our business. We are going to use these awards to elevate ourselves compared to the rest of the industry. That is, that's half the fun of getting an award, is to tell people about it. Now, of course, our end clients, those B2B, those B2C customers that we have, they don't know the legitimacy of, let's say, an award from Pest, which is done by a panel and it's done by voting and it's done by, ballot, compared to that someone has bought. They how are they to know the difference between marketing company A and judging panel B? So with that, actually, when you say, is there a point, or should you do it? Arguably, it depends on the reason that you want to be in that award, doesn't it? And okay, you might pay £200 on Google Ads. You might pay £200 to take an advert in a local newspaper. It's morally and ethically a little bit dubious,
I don't
but
think it is, though, is it? If you like, it is, but let's think of it this way. Some of these firms employ their own in-house marketing manager, right? Some people will subcontract it out. Costs a fucking awful lot more than £200. And then they
Mhm.
put you in for the Pest Awards. So effectively, your business has paid in order to get that nomination and to get you there.
Mm.
Um, these So someone turns around and says, I'm not playing that game. I'll just pay them 200 quid. I'll get the award. I'll put it on my website and it'll increase traffic to my business. Like, is it that bad? Like, is it that bad? As long as you don't wander around giving yourself, I'm a proper award winner, and you let it go to your head. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if it produces the work because you've got bills to pay, you've got wages to keep, you've got the lights to keep on, like, I don't have an issue with it. If that works for you, then keep going, yeah. Um,
I don't have an issue with
yeah.
it. I would much rather prefer that the awards were wholesome and, yeah, independent, with a mixed judging panel, and I think there is
Are they
actually a lot more
independent?
mileage to be had. Yeah, they are independent. Independent in the sense that they are removed from you. None of those people are my employee, or I don't pay them for anything. So with that, yeah, there's an element of independence in that, certainly more so
An
than
element,
other.
an
Well,
element.
no, it's
But
we
this
are
is
not a big
this is
we're not a big industry, are we? So there's
yeah, no,
always going
no,
to be an element of crossover.
yeah. But what I'm saying to you is, if the criteria is not announced before, like properly announced before, um, and people don't really know, and it's the same judges year in year out, is it independent? Like, there's no scrutiny for someone to be independent. There has to be scrutiny of it, and there's no scrutiny of who wins the awards, is there?
Yeah, I'd say there is a scrutiny of it. You've got a judging panel; they scrutinise it. You know,
Well, Alex, the Pest magazine, which is basically covering a couple of the seats, and that magazine is paid for by advertising, etc., etc. Is it truly independent? Like, is it? I don't
okay,
know. And I'm not saying it is or it isn't. What I'm saying is, like, I think independent is a strong word to be used.
okay. They're as free from bias as I think we're going to be able to achieve.
Yes.
Um, and put it that way. And if you look, it's actually, you look at the principal sponsors, of course, being Syngenta, and then it's sponsored by Pelgar, 1EMV, Bell, Cliverton's, Pelsis. I'm waiting for the rest of the banner to come round. Envu. Um, it's it's sponsored. None of those people have a stake in. They don't put themselves forwards. I don't think they can be nominated if they sponsor it. So yeah, it's just bringing it back. This brings us on to, I mean,
Just,
a
just, just to
question.
put, sorry, just before I move on, I don't,
Yeah.
I know I get seen as negative about this, and I don't want this to be negative. I want to stress now, I think the awards are a brilliant thing, and I think we should keep doing them. I'm
Mhm.
just saying it from my sort of council estate, backhanded, looking at is it a backslapping exercise, and does it look like it? And I think And also, I think it's unfair when people get you paid 200 quid for your award and then they jump on them awards and say they're all right. So I think there's the me at one end that doesn't like awards, that they sit uncomfortable with us. There's the buying the awards at the other end, and then there is somewhere in between. I feel like the Pest Awards probably sit there somewhere, but yeah. And then
Oh, sorry, I've
say,
just completely
yeah,
usurped that. Yeah.
am I allowed to bring this one up? Because that would definitely fucking get me sacked, wouldn't
Let's
it?
bring that up in a second because I want to bring this up and I want people to do this. So, have you nominated anyone this year or any years previously?
I haven't, and I'm going to this year as a result.
Yeah.
Clive made a point here. I was once told by my father, if you don't like something, go out and do your own thing. Let's have a Beauties and Beasties Industry Award. Doesn't have to be a big piss up at a posh hotel. So I'm more than happy for us to do that. But that being said, it's pointless sitting on the sidelines and complaining about something if you're not taking part. So it's pointless me sitting here saying I think it's shit and then not nominating people. I think I'm going to have to get off my arse and nominate some people. And I've already got some things lined up for the people who I would like to nominate because I believe that they are there.
I'll tell you what, Sean. How about this for an idea? Why don't we get, we've banded the idea, those who have seen and those who have not seen, and I want to get them out there. Hugh mocked up some really amazing t-shirts. And if we had Simon on, or I might ask him anyway, let's let's send each of the winners a Beauties and Beasties podcast t-shirt. let's get
Yeah,
them let's get them wearing our branding. That would be our sponsorship. We will do that. But we could the thing is why would we do our own awards when there's already an awards process out there that nobody apparently believes is legitimate? What makes you and I more legitimate than anyone else here? We obviously have our own biases. We have people that we speak to more than anyone else. We have favorites and we have people that we are not so fond of. We are as biased as anyone
yeah,
else.
yeah.
So yeah,
Because
it's not just human
Alex,
behavior.
because you could
Mm.
easily turn around and say, here are the awards, here are the criteria, and then it's literally you can't nominate yourself. Somebody else has to nominate you, and if it's an embarrassment and nobody gets nominated, then the industry needs to say that's bad shit. We'll pick someone else. Yeah, I'm not winning whatever. But then, of course, it's a clear case of saying we had these three firms. These were the criteria. These were what they said. This is why we picked this person, and it's above board. And then I think there would
Mm.
be a lot of things added to that. But the other thing is, do we need more than one award? Probably not. Absolutely not. See, Adam Edwards. Here you go. Won both the regional and national awards at Ecolab before I left for Service Specialist of the Year. It was quite the opposite there. You have to work like shit to get there. It was based on state of service, safety observations, completed portfolios. But I can honestly say I smashed the stats. If I didn't write every single thing down, I wouldn't have won that award. As I had to challenge each category multiple times. It was only because I had proof on paper that I won. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. I was once told if it's not written down, it didn't happen in a previous life. I don't know if you've ever heard that said.
Yes, I
Actually,
imagine that
it's a
comes from your
stated
days as
case
a
in
police
law.
officer. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was a cop, there's a stated law bloke called Kwesi Manson was burnt to death in a racist attack. He was a bit of a nutter. He was walking down the street and some horrible scumbags sprayed him with lighter fluid and set him alight. It took them a very long time to catch the people who done it. And when the cops were in the box, they were asked questions and they give the answers. And they said, where did you write this? And they said, well, nowhere. And they said, well, it didn't happen. You can't come back and make it up at a later date. So I am very much a proponent of you need to be able to provide those stats. Otherwise, you end up in that position of being malleable, don't you?
Well,
Um,
yeah. Okay.
yes, I was from 18 to 20. 26, I think I was 27 when I left. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot people don't know about me, isn't there?
So let's circle back to your the one that you were avoiding but not avoiding. What was the one there? It was
This
from
disability thing in it. Where is it? The disability,
this,
diversity and diversity and inclusion award.
we always come to a difference of opinion on this. So, come on, good idea or bad idea then?
Bad
It's a new
idea.
category for this year. Bad idea. Why do you believe
Terrible
it's bad?
idea. Because you take away from the brilliance of the people by nominating them for it.
Run that by me again.
Well, why do they need an award when they can compete at all them other awards and win them awards um, on their own merits?
Okay. So
Like
I'm not sure it's so do you want me to read out the categories for it? So for this. So the Diversity and Inclusion Award. This award seeks to reward a pest management company that's recognized the importance of diversity across their business, taking one step further by actively tackling inequalities and removing barriers. Judges will be looking for a company that has created an inclusive workplace in which all employees of all backgrounds and beliefs are valued and with special measures adopted to promote diversity across gender, race, age, and to include those with disabilities. Now, arguably, I see what you're saying there, which is should we have an award for basically
exactly
doing what is
what you should be doing.
um, what you should be doing anyway?
Yeah.
However, I'm going
If
to
if
flip
you,
that on its
if
head.
you were a company, if you're a company that cannot spot the brilliance in someone and spots the negativities in them for this or that because she's a woman or because he's disabled or they or whatever it is, then you're a fucking idiot. You're an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't get a pat on the back because I've employed a woman. Like, you should pick the best people for the job. And I just don't like it. I think it takes away from the
So,
brilliance of
how
people.
about
Um,
this
yeah,
on the flip side, which is instead of just saying that, yeah, and I agree with you. The EDI conversation is a paradox in the sense that if we need to talk about EDI, then we've already failed because it should be basic human nature. But that being said, these kind of awards, in my opinion, what they will do is they highlight the ways in which these things can be done. They hold these people up as paragons. So those who are still on their way up, those who have not achieved what we would all consider to be these basic human instincts, these are the companies that people can look to and they can take influence from and they can take ideas from and they can learn from them in that sense. So it's less about sort of like an award and more holding these people up as the signpost to excellence at that point.
the other issue I have with it is if it stopped at that, I would probably be comfortable with it. But then it always goes past the line, doesn't it? And then it's like all of a sudden there's criteria put in place and there's this and there's that and all that, and I'm like, oh, I just can't be bothered with it. You need to have so many women and you need to have this and you need to have that, and then it actually becomes negative. You end up with positive discrimination. It rolls that way, and I think I don't want. Imagine having 10 people in your staff, right? You've got 10 women in a business or 10 men in a business, whatever it is, and your business is absolutely flying. Everyone's happy, everyone's great, it works. And then someone comes in and says to you, I've noticed that you don't have enough of the opposite sex. I think you need to change your hiring policies. Like, I just feel like they never stop. There is always an encroachment on the sense and sensibility, and we see it on a day-to-day basis. So as soon as it starts creeping in, it makes me really uncomfortable. Leave it to the person running the business. If they're an idiot, they won't win. Like, just I'm really uncomfortable with it.
I see what you say, and absolutely the positive hire is a dangerous phenomenon, positive discrimination. But on the flip side of that, I think what we need to push for a little bit more is ensuring. It's not that I'm saying that there are, because we've had this discussion before, and I'm not saying that there are, but what we need to do is ensure that there are not barriers to entry into this industry for any category, for any person, not just, not to break people down into those very crass categories of people, although that's what we do as human beings. We like to list and we like to organize and we like to categorize. But I believe that our industry has a huge amount to offer. And with that, I would be mortified if there was some underlying inherent bias leading to a barrier to entry for someone who felt they wanted to get into this industry, but for whatever reason felt they couldn't. And for me, that's what the EDI is trying to highlight these barriers and ensure they're not there. And if there are no barriers, fucking happy days, job done, mission accomplished, off we go. But that to me is EDI. It's not
Yeah, but
positive
they
measures.
will they are always, it would appear to me, this ADI thing, they are going to find what they want to find. Like, I've got no doubt in my mind that they're going to tell us, that we don't employ enough women, we don't do this, we don't do that. Like, and I'm just like, oh, fucking hell. Like, I don't think it's to do with hiring the opposite sex. I think it's more about showing the industry is suitable for all. Yeah, I get it, but like every woman I've spoke to in pest control, like, has been like, yeah, I got into it, no bother. And I do feel when it comes to our
So
industry, saying we need more women in it is like saying to the beauty industry, you need more men in it. Like,
So let's take the element of gender away, because the gender is always a bit of a
yeah,
divisive one with this. Let's take
agreed.
let's instead let's talk about potentially culture. Let's say, are there cultural barriers to this? Is there an opinion in society, or is there an opinion in certain cultures within society that pest management is not a worthy career path? That people who that people who
Yeah.
believe that pest management is, an unclean or an unworthy job. Now that is a barrier to entry, and that is something that you need to work on, because that is a group of people, a culture of people, or even young people, people coming into the workplace, various cultures, people who have come from other. I'm trying to say this in a way that is not going to be pigeonholing anyone here, but you see what I mean. That is also under the whole EDI banner with that.
I don't know. And here you go. So the comment, just say it's becoming woke, and this is my major concern, because there's that saying, isn't it, go woke, go broke. And I feel like this woke, um everything goes in circles, and I don't know, maybe 10 years ago it started with this wokeness, but it's went full circle now, and people appear to be pushing back against it. I feel like as pest controllers, we are late to the party in the woke sort of thing, and we're at that point where you've got to understand that pushing this mantra on pest controllers will have could. In fact, I'm going to say I believe it will potentially have a negative effect on the industry, because the people who are your stalwarts are going to feel like they are being told, one, that they are racist, misogynist, this or that, and a lot of them aren't. In fact, I don't think I've met any that are like. I speak to women pest controllers all the time, and I've said this. There was a point before Dale joined us where we were actively looking to employ a female, because we know the benefits of having one, the hard workers, the studious. I always find it interesting, because you can say the good things, can't you? But you're never allowed to say the bad things about anything. Um, so you can say, like, good, hard work and studious, accurate, paperwork's brilliant, blah 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 blah. And when we asked women if they would be interested, you'd spot someone who you thought was a suitable candidate. The response was always the same: I don't want to do that job. I've got no interest
See
in that
that,
job.
but
To a
that's the
point where I
point.
stopped.
So this is the point. The point, and you are doing the right thing. You're not doing the right thing by positively hiring. You're doing the right thing by giving people an opportunity. The fact that people don't want to take that opportunity is neither here nor there. The fact is that we have given them the opportunity. Now, if you hadn't asked them, then they may not have been given an opportunity. And it's the capacity to get into the industry, not necessarily the industry cherry picking minority groups. It's the fact that everyone feels as though, Pete says it, well here. It's the perception of the industry needs to change. That is the whole, in my mind, that is the whole remit of this. It's not taking a minority and trying to elevate them and trying to say that we don't have enough women, or we don't have enough people from this race or this gender or this age. It's more about, if any of those people want to come play this game, they should feel as though they can. And we need to make sure that they never feel that they don't.
So here's the next thing. Where does it stop?
In my mind, it's just an open door. You make sure that there is an open door. You make sure that nobody's, put a chair in front of the fire escape. That's the
So
easiest way
if
to
I
describe
have a
it.
company, if I grow my company to having 100 men working for us and no women, do I get looked down upon?
I don't think so.
I think I probably would, wouldn't I?
No. Yeah, I think you'd look down. You'd be looked down on if you actively avoided hiring women. But if you had an open door policy, if you had a policy that says, we will interview anyone that comes through our doors and we will pick them based on merit, and so long as those merits were free of bias, they're not going to turn around, because, of course, if you have 10 applicants and all 10 of them are men, you're not going to turn around and say, I'm not going to hire anyone because you don't fit our, criteria. The point is that
Yeah,
we
no,
got
no,
to ask ourselves is, why
yeah.
are all
So
10 of them
yeah.
men? Yeah.
Well, the
Anyway,
truth is that, yeah, but the truth is, if I saw a pest control business where there's 100 employees were men, I'd probably think that they're a bunch of dicks. That's the truth. So the question is, where does it stop? And this is my worry when it starts to creep in. Like I don't think women in pest control should be held up for being women in pest control. They should be held up for being brilliant. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Am I coming
Now,
across right with that?
you are. Now
Yeah,
let's just take one thing, and this will be the last thing we say on this, and I might
yeah,
get lynched, but I think it's a point of celebration more than anything else. Okay, so hear me out here, and this will be the last thing we say about the EDI before we
yeah,
go
yeah,
back
yeah,
into
yeah, yeah.
talking
Because it'll
about
just
awards.
take over. Yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
this will take over. But I honestly believe that our industry probably has more than its fair share of neurodiverse people. Okay, we might not be particularly diverse in other respects, but I honestly
Yeah,
believe that we have probably more than our fair share of neurodiversities. I think we have more people with ADHD. I think we have more people who are, ASD, or ASE, however it is labeled these days. Labeled is the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
or northern.
uh, Northern, or people that are OCD, so on that neurodivergent spectrum, I think we have more than our average share, because I actually think this industry plays in really well to that. And I'm going to sort of like, I'm going to put myself on a limb, and I might, this may torpedo me entirely, but I think those who have ADHD, it doesn't mean that they have a lack of attention. It means they get hyper focused on things. They like
Yeah.
short, sharp rewards. They like things which has a tangible
Mhm.
endpoint. And so things like the domestic jobs, things like the small jobs, the call out work, plays really well. It does really well. People like that. They go out, there is a problem, I solve that problem, I get paid, and I get rewarded for that problem. Happy days. And then you have the flip side of that. You now have the long-term contracts where you are being rewarded for achieving a homeostatic event where nothing changes. You want people who are going to go there and be happy at the fact that when they turn up to that site, actually, there are no rats. Actually, there is no problem to solve. You're being rewarded for basically maintaining a clear sight. And both of those elements, if you try and put someone into an office, no, don't like it at all. And so that this industry draws these people in, and it fosters them, and it allows them to grow and thrive and be good at what they do and be rewarded for that. And I think that's a celebration. I don't think that is a detraction for our industry at all. I think that's a wonderful thing. I think this is a place where things that society and the newspapers for years have labeled as being a millstone around our necks. Nope, we take it, we run with it, we absolutely effing boss it. I am so proud of our little industry, and good. I'm glad. Welcome everyone. not a problem. And I think, we should be celebrated a little bit for that. I don't know if people are going to agree with me there. But hey ho, there we go. Right. I've said my piece. I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah. Nominating someone else. I want to ask everybody here tonight and everybody who listens back to this podcast in the next 35 days, if you would pick one person or one business that would fit into those criteria and nominate them. It would be really nice to see us try to promote one another. I think it would be brilliant for the industry to see engagement from all of us. But I would love to see the awards tell us why they'd won it. Actually tell us why they had won it.
See that. Let's make this a year of change. Instead of slinging a bit of mud, complaining that you weren't nominated, or complaining that those who were nominated, it was just clapping yourselves on the back. No, don't do that. If you've got the time to sit there and go on the internet and say it's all a crock of shit, then genuinely you have the time to go on the internet and nominate someone.
Yeah.
Do it. Go out there. What you've got nothing to lose, and it only goes to sort of like, well, I can only tell you when as I keep saying, when I got my nomination, I was absolutely over the moon. I was on cloud nine for weeks,
Yeah.
and I didn't even win. That was just a nomination. So go and make someone's day. Nominate one of your technicians. If you work in a team and you work with a technician, technician of the year, nominate them. If you work with another company that you think have helped you out no end, do that. If you phone, if you've got you phone up Lawrence or Darren or Matt or Rob or someone like that, someone who gives you a huge amount of help over the phone with no, net gain to themselves. Unsung hero. If your boss is a legend.
I did get told that the unsung hero of the year, every year they have an ASM for one of the thing, but the ASMs never win it for whatever reason.
What's an ASM? Oh, area sales manager. Yeah, sorry.
Sales manager. Yeah. I'm going for Guardian, even though I shouldn't shoot myself in the back. Yeah, exactly. But you not think though, I understand why someone would not vote for the company next door to them in the very short term thing, but I think Justin raises a good point. Like, if you have that confidence in your own ability to say, do you know what it is? The firm next door is a really good firm and I'm going to vote for them. It shows the confidence that you have in your own abilities. So I think voting someone for who is within your patch or direct competition is not stupidity. I think it shows that great resilience from someone. So anybody who does that, I think they deserve a pat on the back. And that would, for me, you see, that would push that nominee even higher. I'd think, yeah, brilliant. Like, and then all of a sudden you start passing work between each other, you get on better, they can't get to a job, they shove it to you, etc., and things start to roll. We get on better with our neighbours than we do than if we fight them. As much as I moaned about it. Lawrence, did you get voted for? Did you? I was wondering why you're on tonight. You haven't been on any other podcast, have you?
So Lawrence said, for those who are
I'm only
listening
joking,
rather than
Lawrence.
watching, Lawrence says that, to be fair, as much as I moaned about, oi, I was reading it out.
Sorry.
To be fair, as much as I moaned about it, that I was uncomfortable, I was very appreciative of the nomination. So just echoing what I said there as well. Clive, go on. What was it that Clive said?
No, I was trying to move it up. I just clicked it by accident. I was just trying to flick through because I've been looking through. So the last thing I wanted to ask about it, Simon King said to me, he said, make no bones about it. If you win an award, it is good for your business. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, absolutely, 100%. So then you stand there and I think, from a business point of view, I absolutely get these people who nominate themselves. I get it. Do you think that the customer, for, I don't know, say you win this award and there's certain firms or certain jobs you get because you've won the award, do you think they would hold it in as much esteem if they knew you'd nominated yourself? Because me personally, if I found out someone had nominated themselves for an award, I'd be like, I'll never use you. But do you think these firms, if they knew that that firm had nominated themselves, would be as keen to use them, or do you think it's best that that's not spoken about?
So it depends on where you're going to go with this. Is this, are we talking uh, business to business? You selling yourself
Yeah,
to
exactly.
business. To which point, um, you're using it as a hook, aren't you? Using it to get them in through the door, and then arguably, they're only ever going to find out that you nominated yourself after you've done the job. And if you've done the job well, it's a moot point, isn't it? It's a moot point whether or not you nominated yourself. Business to customers, if they find that out, they're probably that we're talking domestics and job work here. How are they ever to know? How are they ever to, unless they ask you? And if they ask you, you're
No,
going
no,
to have
yeah,
to,
no, no.
yeah.
So the point I'm making is, do you think? So I don't know. Say you're going for a tender, and they ask for evidence, and you put it in. You say, "Oh, actually, we won this award," and they go, "Oh, that's brilliant. That's really, really good." If that tender went in that said, "We nominated ourselves for this award, and we won this award," would it hold the same credibility that it does?
I don't believe it would hold the same credibility, but it does show that you have a certain flair for getting up and getting shit done, doesn't it? It's. But at the end of the day, not yeah, as someone mentioned earlier on, nominating yourself doesn't necessarily mean winning. You still are being judged by an independent panel. By nominating yourself, all you're doing is making yourself visible. Okay, you're not
Mm,
guaranteeing a win. You're just guaranteeing that you won't, you know, that you're not going to fail, so to speak. So with that, oh god, people are definitely having a chat now, aren't
right.
they?
So
Crikey,
let me start here.
yeah.
Terry, actually, I know people may laugh at this. Christian Ems from Pest Interceptor should be nominated for award. He's a bit wacky, but his YouTube channel is huge and he does a great advert for the industry. Then you nominate him, Terry. This is exactly what we're saying. Bang him in. I've spoken to Christian. I don't think he's been number one fan, but that's fine. And I want the way I am with people is, you may dislike us, you may think I'm a bit of a prick, whatever. That's fine. I still want to see people win. He's someone's son, daughter, um, brother, sister, husband. People rely on them, and he's put a lot of time and effort in, and he's definitely done it his way. There's that thing about being disruptive in an industry, isn't it? And he's certainly done that. So I think, Terry, you should nominate him. I absolutely believe you should nominate him.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
Before you jump onto that, on that point,
go on.
there is a there's a huge amount more that we can get from cooperation than there is from competition. And let me explain that. I mean, I went did some work at a large football stadium, and they told me that their seating capacity for their away fans was roughly 10,000 seats. And it suddenly dawned on me that the whole pest management industry would barely fill or overfill the away seats at a Premier League team. Okay, we are tiny.
Mm,
That being said, though, I ran, and to much my chagrin, I haven't done another one, and I really should. But I did an open day. I just hired out a hall, and I invited all of the local pest controllers to come down to meet each other, so we can have a chat, have a coffee, and do the rest of it. And for the first
yeah,
15, 30 minutes, there was a dozen, maybe, verging on 15 pest controllers in this room. And somehow, magically, they all managed to stand in a different corner, four corners of the room, 15 pest controllers, and somehow they're still all, and they're like this. And I was like, come on, guys, why are you chatting? And he's like, I know him. He's right next to me. Why would I talk to him? He's my competition. I was like, all right. Just out of interest, though, what do you do as pest control? Well, I do a lot of drain work. Right. What does he do? I don't do any drains. Actually, I mostly do, birds and bird proofing and bee removals. Oh, what about you?
yeah,
Actually, I'm more like the wildlife management side of it. We are a collection. We're an industry that is loosely tied together by rats, mice, cockroaches, and bedbugs. And then the bits around
yeah,
the outside, we tend to specialize in. And we don't. You don't find many people who are a specialist in everything. People tend to really focus their knowledge and their abilities down. So actually, yeah, okay, we're going to compete on rats and mice. We're going to compete on job work, but we're
yeah.
definitely probably unlikely to compete on the more specialized things. And that There's a huge amount to be had from that. There's a huge amount from being able to actually say when someone phones up and says, "Hey, I've got a problem with my X, Y, and Z," instead of just turning around and saying, "Can't do it, sorry," click, being like, "You know what? I'm going to bring in one of my, one of my colleagues, and they should be able to help," and either passing the work on, to which point they will pass stuff back to you if they're a reasonable human being, or you go through subcontract. You take a slice of that pie for being the person that's bought that in and secured that contract. There's more
I
to
was
be
talking
had.
to Rob Simpson. I was talking to Rob Simpson
Mhm.
about Rent a Kill because that's where he worked this week. And also, if anyone here has been a member of BNI, they will understand what this is. And he said, when Rent a Kill ASMs go in or their sales people go in, they are looking for everything. For everything. So they'll say, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and we've got a sales division, we've got a cleaning division, and we can do your washroom services. And they are working so hard together that they are providing work for one another throughout that industry, and they are huge. B&I do it. They do like a referral thing. So they are constantly looking for work for each other, and it generates millions of pounds worth of business. And I honestly believe that as pest controllers, if we could start to do that, then all of
Mm.
a sudden you can start to challenge for the bigger jobs. You've got to be incredibly silly to not understand that the reason why Rent a Kill can get these jobs is because they can provide the service in every area. So if we start to do that and go, do you know what it is? Like, yeah, I can do these 3 shops here, but you know you're going to be stretched on doing the 2 east of you. Yeah, but we'll pass it on to him. They'll take them 2. We'll take these 3. We'll look after them. And the guy who you pass the 2 shops to in the east goes, oh, actually, there's a couple of jobs coming. I can't do them. Give him a call. Justin says it, and I've spoken to you about this. True local here, we bang about between us. Yet we also say if it's a shit job, that's what Rent a Kill, and that's what they do, don't they? Bad customers, yeah, like get rid of them. They know straight away before they've walked into it. If yous are arguing amongst yourselves locally, then the bad customer can work around between yous, can't you? If yous are helping each other, you walk in and there's a shit show of a job on the floor, and you know that firm, you know you can ring him up and go, what's going on? He hasn't paid his bill. I haven't been there for fucking 2 months. Do you know what I mean? He was moving. I had it. A bad customer, couldn't get money off them, and they'd ended up taking bait out of a tray in a covered and protected area and put it behind their couch. I had dogs. I hadn't been there for over a year, so I don't know what was going on. And yeah, and you're like, okay, no about that. Like, you can have that. They rang us up. I was like, you can have that customer if you want them. I'm like, why? I was like, they're a fucking nightmare to deal with. Oh, yeah, I knew something was going on. Do you know what I mean? I knew something was going on. So you are definitely better off talking, aren't you? Yeah.
So yeah, let's go back to Brian. There was plenty of work around. So let's
Sorry,
go
go.
through some of these. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
oh, we both did that then.
Yeah, we're double clicking. Go on.
So Brian says,
Awards.
is it good for Joe Public, who don't really know what the awards are, or is it more about putting yourself out there to the industry peers and keeping your company in the limelight? Again, in the context of the industry, I'd say it's more beneficial than what the public thinks of your company. And yeah, there's an element of that, isn't there? You know, you want to be seen positively by your peers. It it's useful. It helps you get ahead. I mean, what's your thoughts on this? Would you rather be seen positively by the industry, or do you rather be seen positively by the general public, Sean?
The people who are
What's
paying us
more important?
to work.
The people that you're paying you.
Yeah, because it's nice to think that your peers understand what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do, and heading in the right way. You have to be realistic and understand that they probably will or they won't, and they'll have their own ideas about it. But ultimately, when you're paying wages, that you know the lads who work for you, their mortgage depends upon you
Mm.
providing that work. So for me, it's an absolute. I would much rather my customers saw me in a positive light. Yeah, definitely.
I don't disagree with you, but I also think there's an element of the long game, let's say here, which is you build your standing and reputation with the industry, even though in the short term it may not be providing a financial dividend. Let's say it does help build a foundation of um, exposure, of trust, of um, all of these things that doesn't happen overnight, and you have to work on it slowly, and you have to work on it from somewhere. So I believe there's a little bit of both to there. I can see the merits of both by far.
I worked from Boots from 1994 to 96. My best school friend joined about a year or so before me and won a national award for customer service within the whole company, went on to be area manager within a very short space of time. For
Okay,
me,
so
that is gone.
I'm about to say that we have completely neglected, because we keep thinking about these awards being for us, don't we? But some of these awards are for the people that young technician of the year award, unsung hero. For those people that you nominate for these awards, it is a springboard to allow them to become more um, recognized in their roles. You take a good person and you make them excellent because you have given them the motivation to move on and forwards. Um, that is that is another way of looking at it.
Do you know what it is? I think that shows the next level of maturity and the next level of ability, because there's that saying, isn't it? Everyone wants to see you do well, but no one wants to see you do better than them. And I think when you get to the point where Neil is, where he says, my friend joined me, I wanted him to join, I wanted him to have a good job. And he then went on to win this award and be that. And I was happy for him. And he'd done this and he'd done that. I think that is like, if I could employ one of those two people, the person who won the award and became area manager, or the person who was happy to see him in a culture in my business, I would employ Neil over him, because
Mhm.
having someone who pushes their friends above them, for me, is like the absolute goal, because everything becomes easier.
Was it
Everything, you
you?
know.
What was it you said on a couple of podcasts ago? Surround yourself with springs, not wells. Was that it? Or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
fountains, not wells. You just,
yeah.
I won't have a well around us. If you are draining stuff, I'll just fuck you off. Like, yeah, and being a spring like that, like, I want you to win. I want you to win. That is next level. That is, yeah. Adam Edwards. Oh, look, I'm next door to Dalton Pest Control, and I'm confident my ability. Matt is good as gold. He's helped me in the past, taught me how to catch moles. I've helped him. He's a good lad. I kept on to him about getting on the show with Alan Jones. He's a gentle giant and doesn't like to be under the spotlight, but I know he'd have me back if I needed assistance. So many top lads in this industry. It looks like Dalton Pest Control need a nomination of Adam, then, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, yeah. And again, Matt and Alan came on this podcast. I knew Alan, obviously. I didn't really know Matt. Matt came on and gave us a hand and taught us about mold control, etc., etc. There was a job come up down his way where someone rang us because of a YouTube video. I was like, yeah, that's who you want. That is who you want. Give Matt a ring. I don't know if he's done the job or what, but he's going on to that. He then rang me up and went, you looking for a bird of prey? Yeah, we've got one here. It's just what you want. It's doing pest control. It'll teach him. When you start to help each other, things start to come back round.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, I found one that I want to bring up. But before you click on anything, here we go. This is one that we need to talk about.
No,
Come on, everyone. Let's nominate Sean for something. Let's do
don't,
it. Let's put him in
don't,
there. Let's
don't,
you pipe down,
don't,
you. Nobody's asking your opinion on this. Um
don't. Yeah, no. Listen. I promise you, if they rang me up, I would just giggle. I would just laugh. I'd be like, they're taking the piss out of you for doing that. Like, don't be stupid. Go and give it to the person who needs it. That is absolutely not me. Hugh, it's nice to be liked, but it doesn't pay the bills. You know. Yeah. And again, it comes back to that nominating yourself, doesn't it? It's
Mm,
great that you've nominated yourself, and your peers might think you're a bit of a dick for doing it, or some of your peers might. But ultimately, there's people out there who are relying on you to provide the work to bring it in so you can pay them so they can keep the mortgage going. So if that's what you've got to do, like, Would I swallow my pride and do it for me lads if I thought it would help? Yeah, I probably would. I would be uncomfortable, but yeah.
Right. I want to talk about this one because I think that there is right and wrong here. Public will not understand the specific awards. What they understand is a good job and word of mouth. You can have all the badges in the world, but be crap. Now, that last statement, definitely agree with. However, I do want to have this conversation around word of mouth because this is something that irks me because the world has changed. Okay. Word of mouth, because it used to be a lot of jobs, a lot of our leads were generated by people saying, hey, I had, I've got some rats in the garden, and word of mouth literally being word of mouth. People talking down the pub, people having a chat in the queue at the local store, all of these things, that traditional word of mouth. But that traditional word of mouth has largely stopped because we had a global event where people stopped going to the pub. We had a global event where people, did not congregate in big circles. And what happened during that time? And I'm not saying people don't now go to the pub, but during that time of COVID, when people needed a recommendation, they went on social media. They went on social media and they basically said, and we see this all the time, they put on a post on Facebook, on wherever the hell, next door, whatever it is, looking for a recommendation, and people recommend them, and the word of mouth has moved online. But the thing is when you go online, they will say, right, that's it, Kill Line Pest Control, Wade Environmental. The first thing that person does is clicks that link to have a look at your page, okay? And they will instantly vet you on the content of your page, on your reviews, on your accolades. You don't have an opportunity to tell them you're good at your job. They make a decision based on pretty lights, flashing colors, and people make a knee-jerk reaction. And so in that instance, yeah, if you've got on your Facebook page in your banner, voted number one in the Tri-County area by 4 independent panels,
Mhm.
that's still your word of mouth. That is the new word of mouth. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, people don't understand what they are. And arguably, if you were unscrupulous, you could just create a banner for yourself and say, voted the very best by an independent of 3 out of 4 dentists. you know, you could do
Yeah.
what you liked. But if anyone drilled down into it, you'd be in deep kamama. So yeah,
So yeah, it's
I
quite funny,
agree.
isn't it? Imagine the best sweets as voted by the dental industry. The stickiest, sweetest toffees as voted by the dental industry. Carl Hobson raises a point, and I am with Carl on this 1,000,000%. Attitude wins over ability in my book every day. You can have the most talented person in the world, um, but if their attitude is not correct, they will not reach where they need to go. If you have someone with the correct attitude, um, it's a lot easier to add the ability to them than it is to add the attitude to the person with the ability, if that makes sense.
I don't
Does that
believe the
make
two are
sense?
like mutually exclusive. I think you can work on both as a good manager or as a good employer. It's down to you to foster a positive
No, what I'm saying
environment
is
in which people.
you've got two people, one has attitude and one has ability, but they don't have both. Which one would you pick? I'd pick the one with the attitude because I think it's easier to add ability and attitude than it is to add attitude into ability. I think it's my experiences anyways. I think when you've got that right stuff, when they want to get there, they'll get there. Might take a little bit longer, might take more hard work and effort, might take a bit more training, but they will get there. Whereas if they don't have the right attitude, and obviously, if you can get someone with attitude and ability, then you've just hit the high notes, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry, I'm clicking your thing off yet. And that just, again, for those watching back, Neil Bond said about his friend, he deserves a position. He's still my best friend 40 years after we met. No word, no more need to be said, is there?
so we've agreed. Yeah, would you believe it? Hour and 30. Hour and 30. We've just been
Yeah.
rattling onto each other. And we promise we won't, make it a feature-length episode. But come on, have a scroll through. Has anyone else got any other sort of like questions and bits and bobs? And actually, while we look for some questions, I'm going to put up in here. Don't forget, making this worthwhile for yourself. Don't forget your CPD points, guys. Don't forget your CPD points.
Oh yeah.
You can get both basis and BPCA registered on this. So get those in. What's Brian saying, Sean?
The best fish and chip shop in the UK. There must be about 200 of these chip shops in the UK. It's true, it is. They're just all over, aren't they? Absolutely all over. Yeah, I do think our industry is different in terms of word of mouth, for a number of reasons. People won't admit to it. I think that's true. Nobody walks out and goes, or very few people walk out and go, "Sure it is. Got rats in my kitchen." Don't know decent pest control, do you? Like, I don't think that happens as much, and I think people do try to search in silence for someone to help.
My local, spotted in Basingstoke or whatever the hell it is. On Facebook, that we've all seen, because we've all seen this on the forums. There's an ability to post anonymously now. So actually, yeah, a lot of you see a lot of people asking questions which usually they would have felt socially awkward or embarrassed to ask. But now, under the anonymity, the double anonymity of the internet, anonymous member, can anyone recommend in the South Ham area a good pest controller?
Yeah, that is changing. Justin says, I don't agree.
Yeah,
Word
that's
of
the other
mouth
way
can
around, isn't
literally,
it?
can literally destroy your business. And I think in the days of social media and Google, that's true. Carly's dad worked for BT, and he told me two things which have absolutely changed the way I think about customers. That BT told him. He said that for every 10 jobs that you do, you will get one good word of mouth recommendation. For every one bad job you do, they will tell 10 people. So it can,
Right.
and I think that's true. And I
Yep.
also think now, when the right reviews for you, yeah, you've got to be careful with that for certain, because now it's not just word
Absolutely.
of mouth; it's there forever, isn't it?
It is. And okay, that is one of the things with social media, isn't it? You can be, and I think the exact expression is hoisted by your own petard, which is a fantastic expression. If you don't know what that is, you definitely need to look up the etymology of it. A petard was one of the very first grenades ever created. And so to be hoisted by your own petard means that you had basically fumbled your grenade on the floor and thrown, and blown
Right.
yourself to smithereens. So that's what that
Right, yeah.
means. And I think it works perfectly in this situation. But while you find this last one, I'll tell you a joke which falls immediately into line with this, and hopefully people will appreciate this. There's a man sat at a pub, and he's glum. He's looking sad, big long face. And the barman comes up to him and he says, "Hey, Sean, why the long face? Why are you so sad?" And he's like, "Oh, I just don't understand people. I just don't get people's attitude. Because you remember, last year, when the school bus caught fire and I heroically dove into the flames and I pulled all of the small children out of the school bus and the bus driver, and everyone survived. And does anyone remember that? Does anyone call me Sean, the savior of small children? No, of course they don't. And you remember, only 6 months ago, I donated a small fortune of my profits to the local old people's home so they could have an upgrading to their central heating system. Do I get known as Sean, the savior of the elderly? No. But I tell you what, you fuck a dog one time and nobody forgets about it.
Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, I heard something similar.
There we
It
go.
was
That's
we used
that's
to
that's
tell a
definitely
joke about being gay. We used to
oh
tell a
no,
similar
that's
joke about being gay. No, it was like, I've shagged 200 women in all over the course of my life, and I've sucked two cocks, and everyone says I'm gay. You must have heard that one. You must have heard that one. Yeah.
yes,
But,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
What's Alex doing
To
in
be
his spare
fair,
time? Well, telling bad jokes, apparently. That's what Alex is doing in his spare time.
yeah.
There we go. Right, another couple of questions coming in. Oh, for the love of God. There we go. This is hoisted by his own petard here. That's what he's doing on the
Yeah, I think
farm.
that's why Church Farm was shut down, on it, Alex.
Yeah.
Why you stood on your own petard?
Oh, God. You
Well,
don't have to
to
say
be
the word
fair,
petard like I say the word petard. Like,
uh,
instantly went
uh,
posh there. So come,
so let's have a
yeah,
recap.
yeah. Let's have a bit of
Let's
a
have a
recap, shall we?
recap. So we're going to
So,
have a nomination for Dalton Pest Control. We're going to have a nomination for Guardian Pest Control. We're going to have a nomination for Pest Interceptors. I am going to nominate Davy Brown, Unsung Hero, because he has given me and others an awful lot of advice. I'm not saying he's the only man out there for advice, so I'm not endorsing him like that. I'm just saying he's been brilliant for us. Who else is going to nominate who? Let's have a
I don't
think.
know. So what I mean, just what here. So we've got, of course. Let's read out the award categories one by one. So we've got the Diversity and Inclusion Award number one. And as much as we feel, left or right, if
I'm
you
not
know of a
nominating
company,
anyone.
not nominating anyone, but those that are listening, if
No.
you know a company that you think have made a special effort to be front and center, to have made an effort, yeah, nominate them. Go for it.
Yeah,
Make sure
yeah.
that they get the accolades they deserve. Large Company of the Year. So with that, that's more than 20 technicians. So who here is more than 20 technicians? Just say in the comments who is a 20 plus company, but large company of the year, more than 20 technicians. Local authority of the year. Well, actually, there definitely are some
Durham,
authority representatives on this
Durham
podcast.
County Council. I'm gonna nominate Durham County Council because as a pest control department, they are brilliant. We have numerous councils that we work for. Durham will go in, they investigate everything, they'll put enforcement on people, they'll force them to do stuff, and the change that has happened as a result of them pushing forward with them and the level of training that their guys get and how they go about doing their job on a day-to-day basis, I'm definitely going to nominate Durham for that.
Yeah. I'm about to say I would like to, through rampant nepotism, say my local authority of the year, Basingstoke, but I don't think they do anything. Forgive me if wrong if there's anyone listening for this. I don't believe they do. I don't think there is a pest management division of mine. Pest controller of the year. Now this is a good one. Everyone should be able to get into this one. Pest controller of the year. Everyone should know someone to be eligible for this, whether it's a colleague, whether it's someone you simply just admire from afar, but everyone should have an opportunity or someone in mind for this. This should be absolutely there. Small company of the year. Again, small company of the year is less than 20 technicians specifically in there. Again, that's going to be most of us. You can be a sole trader and still be a small company of the year.
Do you know what it is,
Um,
Ken? Just as you go through them,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
think you or know someone, bang them in the comments so they see it.
Mm.
Don't just keep it to yourself. Put it in so people see it's okay to give people a shout out. Yeah, do it.
Mm.
John Sage, another great shout out, has helped an awful lot of people.
Yep.
Has given a lot. So yeah, I think Adam, you put in for John. I'll put in for Davey. Let's go for that.
Absolutely. Sole Trader of the Year. So there we go. There's a special category just for all of those, um, you know, small blah, 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 sole traders and partnerships. Nominate someone. Nominate. This is one that I wouldn't know where to start, but I'm sure a lot of you guys will know. Sustainability Initiative of the Year. Now, of course, with things like that, I can only assume. So you have a look at, and again, not to show any kind of like bias here, but One EMV recently did a post I saw on LinkedIn saying that by using recycled materials within their bait boxes, they'd saved something like 220,000 tons of CO2 last year alone, which was enough to send an articulated lorry 7 times around the world. That's the kind of thing we're looking for there. Manufacturers of LED bulbs as opposed to fluorescent bulbs. People who have, even such small things as and doing things like making sure that the packaging that you use, or there's so much that's actually a really broad category if you put a little bit of lateral thought into it. There we go. More and more people. Unsung
Ye-
Hero of the Year award. I think most of these are coming in at the moment. Probably will fall into that category. We've got the Johns and the Davies. Martin's a good one. Kill Jump Team. Particularly their ID service. Um, Absolutely. You've got all of these,
we don't
and then
mind a bit of
finally,
competition, do Alex?
Oh, not at all. Oh Christ! I mean,
Mm.
I frequently
Mhm.
redirect people to other ID services if it's a species or a group of animals that I'm just not confident in. Because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, I would rather say, you know what, and mites are one of those that I'll hold my hand up. I know, I know the five big categories of mites, but if it's something that looks a little bit iffy, I am not above basically turning around and saying, you know what, speak to the right guys about this because
Mhm.
you did you I'd rather get a positive resolution than £50 in my pocket at the end of the day,
Yeah, I agree.
by far and away. And with that, so young pest controller of the year. This I think is actually a really important one. You might think that as end of the list, and I feel a bit chagrined that it is all the way at the end of the list. But I imagine that's for reasons of the alphabet more than anything else. But I actually think that this is one that we really should celebrate because this is what's going to encourage young people to remain in our industry. It's what's going to encourage people to push forwards. Let's celebrate people while they're just starting off. Let's not wait, until they're running their own business. Let's not wait until they're, long in the tooth before we show them any kind of love and praise. Let's start from the beginning. Let's get them, um, what's the word I'm looking for, Sean? Let's get them passionate about this industry from day one, as opposed to having to let them slog through a long time. Let's do it straight away. Um, how
Terry,
about
you
old
would
pest
win that
control of the
every
year?
year.
Yeah,
Like,
Terry,
no
yeah, there we go.
competition
That's
as a Terry. Like, Terry, you've won. I'll give you a badge.
I think the badge should literally be an old man just shouting at the sky. It
I
would be
have I
between,
have two little boys, and there's some
yeah.
people going to laugh at this who know Terry. I have two little boys, and one of them went through a period of loving watching a Pixar film called Up. Has anyone seen it?
Yes, I know
Mr.
exactly what you're going to
Fredrickson.
say.
That is Terry. Terry, if anyone knows Terry and has seen Mr. Fredrickson and Up, he is Mr. Fredrickson. Terry, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It is you.
There we go. Oh, well, that's 1 hour 46. There we go.
Yeah.
That is, I was a bit, I have to say, I was a bit concerned coming into this today, and I told you before the show, which was, I was a bit worried that for so long now, for almost sort of like, what was it for? You get that all the time. For 4 months now, we've had every week a different guest. We haven't done just a you and I for a little while
Mm.
now. I was like, do we know how to talk to each other anymore? What's this going to be like? But once again, we've managed to sort of like fly through. So you know what? Yeah, let's do that. But I'm gonna do this to you. There we go. So Sean, have you enjoyed your time on the podcast?
No, so I've already done this, remember? So I've got to ask you, have you enjoyed
Oh
your
Christ
time on
again.
the podcast?
Yeah, I absolutely. There's a reason I come logging onto these things every week, and it's not because I feel obligated to. Yeah, I could walk away at any minute. I genuinely enjoy this. I genuinely enjoy having a chat to you. I genuinely enjoy seeing all of the comments coming in on the side. No, I wouldn't. Some people might say you're a boring bastard. Go get a life. But nah, this is fun for me. I genuinely enjoy this. So I've had
Yeah,
fun.
so do I. I think it's good. Another one there who's going to go in for an award.
Hmm.
Cotswold District Council. Anyone from here watching it? The locals are giving you a shout out, so that's absolutely brilliant. Oh, hang on a second. I would have got rid of years ago and farm out. All right, no, they're not getting a
That
shout out. Then
that
someone
that
else.
went the
Yeah,
other way.
sorry.
Sean, that's a lesson in reading the whole question before you give an answer. What's the first thing we say about an exam? Read the question through before you answer.
Oops. Yeah, Rupert Ferkins, you've just done me there. So please, yeah. T's Pest Quest. So I'm going for a coffee with him. He lives a couple of streets away. Another local pest controller. And this makes me giggle because this just sums up the state of the youth of today. And it wanted to get my 18-year-old son involved, but his loud, girly screams when he sees the wasps put me off.
It's not a loud, girly scream. It is an
Yeah.
audible warning. He is the health and safety manager for your team. He is letting you know in no uncertain terms that there is danger afoot. You're just not appreciative.
All I'm going to say is, right, Clive's put a comment on. Thank you to you both for your great work in this, and I think there should be a nomination for the Beauties and Beasties team. If they are going to ring up and ask us why we have win, why we deserve to win this, please do not give them my telephone number. Give them Alex's, because if you give them
Yeah, give
mine,
them
we
mine
ain't
because
fucking winning.
then
Oh yeah, do not give them my number. We will
because I'll
struggle
make sure.
massively.
Oh, no, absolutely. Give them
Yeah.
my number. Give them my number because I will sign us up to all of this stuff. I will not tell Sean to the last minute. I'll be like, Sean, I've got something going on. Can you come and meet us in London?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
And
well,
then I'll just
fucking
get
one.
Clive to bring down a tuxedo and we'll just absolutely stitch Sean up. Absolutely stitch him up. So
Yeah,
you
no, we're
say, don't
not.
give them
Yeah,
my number. Yeah, give them my
yeah,
number. I'll
yeah.
stitch him up on your behalf, guys. Flat
Fish
out.
for London. Going to take my lad on a few jobs soon as he's shown interest. I have two boys, and I don't want them to do it because I do it. But I would love one of them, at least one of them, to show an interest and want to move into it. And if they do, I would absolutely be, if one or both of mine gets to that point where they're showing interest and want to take it on, it will make me a very happy man. That being said, if they want to go and do their own thing, I'll support them. So let's see.
So, from someone, and I blether on about this all the time, but someone who did work with their father for years, it was the most rewarding thing in the world.
Good.
And so, those of you that do have little ones, and those of you are, taking interest, don't be ashamed of your job. Don't be ashamed of what you do. Take them with you, And if they do come and work with you, genuinely, I believe it will probably be one of the most rewarding. You will have more fights than you've ever had in your life. You will have disagreements over things that are dumber than you could possibly imagine. But the moments that, you both fire, you both click, you both get on like that, they are absolutely they will change you. So if you can, do. And I'm so
Peter,
happy about that.
Peter won an award last year. He's from Integrum.
Mm,
Nice one. He made a couple of valid points, and I wanted to go back to them quickly because I feel like I skated over them. But just before we go, so it doesn't look like I'm not interested because I am. I
mm,
just kept meaning to call back and I didn't get them. Um, he was saying about how there is other benefits to winning an award, not
mm,
just what the customers think, the fact that it was a great team building exercise, it gives them something to push towards,
yeah,
etc., etc. So again, I get it. I absolutely get it. Yeah.
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 Right. Go on, ask me the other two questions before we're here all night.
Give us a shameless plug, young man.
I've never actually plugged my own business, have I? So there we go. Do you want more? All right, okay.
Yeah, I want to hear. I want to
Um,
know why
yeah,
you're going to plug it. Tell us about your business.
right. So, of course, those who know, those who don't, I run two businesses. I run a community interest company called IPM Central, which is all around training. Okay. So, arguably, I'd like if anyone ever wants to get involved with or be trained or have training, or even the point of the CIC is to support trainers. So, if you want to get into training, if you want to deliver training, if you want to receive training, if you want a good day out for your team, or you want to simply elevate your own knowledge, speak to IPM Central. It's a group of consultants. It's a community interest company. The reason that myself, Oliver Madge, and Lulu Gunter set this up was as a legacy program. We wanted to set it up, and because it's a CIC as opposed to a limited company or a sole trader or anything like that. When we step back from it, it will be passed on to the next generation. It's a company that you don't get paid dividends. So I only get paid in that company for the hours that I work in it. I don't get paid a wage for just simply being there. It's not a passive income. If I
Mm.
don't do anything, I don't get anything. But with that, it means that when this gets passed on to the next generation, it's not like there's going to be someone sat at the top taking all of your hard-earned money. The point of a CIC is the money gets filtered straight back into the company. So of all the money that you put in, the person who lectures gets paid, and then all of the profits goes on to generating more materials and the rest of it. So number one, if you want training, look at IPM Central. Great. Number two, Wade Environmental. We do three things. We do our personal development, which is through IPM Central. We do our professional development, which is all of our site audits, our mediations, our surveys, our pure consultancy, stuff like that. So basically, if you have a question that you want an answer to, if you have a site that needs looking at, if you just need help for your business, whether it be technically or anything else, we can be there. And the one that I enjoy the most, the third P in that, is the product development. Um, we help everyone take products. If you've got a good idea, and you're willing to spend the money to get it to market, we will help. We'll help you, road test that thing to destruction. We will help you find the holes in it. We will help write reports that you can put in front of people to basically say, this is our thing and it works. And then finally, if it's something that we do genuinely believe in, we've done before, we can help you find a route to market. We can help speak to, we've got those contacts. We can speak to the distributors. We can speak to the manufacturers. We can take your idea. We can get it further forwards. It's not a free service by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, if you genuinely have something you believe in, we can get it there.
Yeah.
My God, I'm
So
preachy, aren't I? Jesus wept.
I'm stealing the last question. Who would you like
Right.
to see on the podcast? Because he's just popped up at probably the wrong time for him. But I've had some great conversations with Sean Taylor over the last sort of 12, 18 months, maybe it's 2 years. And he's put a comment on, I can endorse the train from Alex Wade, you just have to put up with his humour. Agreed. But no, I would love Sean Taylor to come on. So if you don't come on, Sean, we're going to bar you and kick you off. I will send you you send me some dates of a Friday evening you can do, because obviously you're on now, so you can do a Friday evening. We know that. So send us some Friday evenings over the next I think we're booked up for the next 6 or 8 weeks, something like that. After that, we'll get you in and we're going to get Sean on to talk about franchises and pest control. But I've done a little bit with Sean before, and the conversations are great and going a lot of different directions that people get value out of. So yeah, there's another guest. Boom.
Perfect. Boom. Yes. I agree. Actually, I was down at the Pest Force Awards last year, and it's a really interesting setup. It's an interesting dynamic, and actually, I think a lot of people probably would here we go really enjoy hearing about that, because it may be something that in the future you want to aim towards doing. So there we go. 6 weeks. Yeah, Hugh says we've got 6 weeks worth of guests lined up. You wouldn't believe. I know. Okay, we're finishing. We're closing the podcast down now. But I'd just like to say, as a final note, we came into this, 6 months ago. We have got now. We've been going since October. We've been doing one of these a week since October. I think I counted up the other day. There is a solid 3.5 days worth of listening here. In terms of hours that we have produced. With this, we started off scrabbling, interviewing each other from the labs, bringing, friends and family, and, now we are booked up for 6 weeks. And that's because people want to sit in front of you guys who are listening right now and say their piece. And while you might think that you tune in to listen to the guests, I can tell you we have guests lining up to speak to you.
Yeah.
So it's not about me and Sean, and it's not necessarily about the guests. It is about
What
you
people
guys.
what people don't know is it started off with us asking guests. It's rapidly getting to a point of guests contacting us, wanting us to come on because they feel like they can add something to the community, which is really nice. People who at the very start were hesitant because they felt like it may be negative, are now there's definitely been a 180 on that, hasn't there? And it feels like a rock gaining momentum, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Who's the next guest? Well, I can tell you, because I think it'll be an absolute blinder, a total I don't want to say oddball. What do you say? Curveball. Yeah. There's a bit of a curveball. Andy Beddoes is going to come on. Yeah.
Yes.
Andy Beddoes, the oddball curveball. He is coming on, and he's done loads of interesting stuff. I think he's sold a couple of pest control businesses. He's been a gamekeeper. He's been in the industry for years. He set up UK Pest Controllers Facebook page, which has like 4,000 people on it or what have you. But he's not backwards and coming forwards, and will tell you what he thinks. So I think Andy's going to be a great guest. Really knowledgeable guy who's at the end of his career. I'm sure he wouldn't mind us saying that. So let's see. Rent-a-Kill. Was he Rent-a-Kill? Was Andy Beddoes Rent-a-Kill?
Why don't we find out next week?
Yeah, let's find out next week. Tune in next week to find out what Andy Beddoes has done. Yeah. So yeah, let's go from there.
Excellent stuff. Guys, thank you
Yeah.
ever so much. So, from me, toodle pip. From him,
From me, good evening.
there we go.
Being
I
emotional.
jumped the gun a little bit there. There we go. Bye 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 bye.